Fimmvorduhals trail in Iceland. Dreamstime, length 25 kilometers, difficulty tough. Iceland is wonderfully weird. And a whole lot of that weirdness is squeezed into this testing trail, which starts near the ocean and ends amid the Thorsmork mountains. Completing this in one day is tough, and some choose to take two, overnighting at the halfway hut, but it's doable, especially if you hike in July and August when the light lasts forever and the weather is at its best. The trailhead is above staggering Skogafoss, one of Iceland's finest falls. It can be busy, but you'll soon lose the crowds. Hiking northwards across the river-cut grassy tundra via 20 more waterfalls and onto a wild plateau that seems as if it's been dropped from outer space. This glacier-licked realm is ruled by two huge, rambunctious volcanoes, Katla and the infamous Eyjafjallajökull, which are constantly sculpting new steamy craters, lava fields and pumice piles. The views from the trail's high point, 1,068 meters, or possibly the best in Iceland, and followed by a descent into Thor's Valley, an area of towering icy peaks, crystalline rivers and some of Iceland's most beautiful hiking. Like that? Try this. Vestfjorden Ridge, Norway, 17 kilometers, a classic ridge trail that runs right through Jotunheimen National Park, with access to the trailhead easily available by boat. 2. Sentinel Peak, South Africa. Sentinel Peak. Dreamstime, length 12 kilometers, difficulty moderate if you want to probe the upper heights of KwaZulu-Natal's Ukalamba Drakensberg escarpment but only have a day to do it. This is the trek to pick. By driving up to Sentinel Peak Car Park, 2,600 meters, you can bypass a lot of climbing, leaving more time for the good, high stuff. From the trailhead, there's only 570 or so meters to ascend to reach the top of the range. At first the route rises via steep zigzags, basalt cliffs, bulky buttresses and possible sightings of baboons and bearded vultures. Then things get really spine-tingling. To gain the summit plateau, a series of chain ladders dangles from the near-vertical face of the Mont Sources Massif, though acrophobes can take the steep alternative up Beacon Buttress Gully if they'd prefer. From the top are panoramic views across the majestic horseshoe-curved amphitheater, which make it clear why the Zulu call these mountains Kwarthlamba, meaning a mass of spears. You can also peer straight down Africa's highest multi-tier plume, Tugela Falls, 948 meters. Like that? Try this. Skeleton Gorge, South Africa, 6 kilometers, one of the most beautiful routes up the most iconic of South African peaks, Cape Town's Table Mountain. 3. Grand Balcon Sud, France. Trekking with views of Mont Blanc on the horizon. Dreamstime, length 5 to 25 kilometers, difficulty easy tough, depending on your route. To hike along the Grand Balcon Sud is to promenade with giants. This natural veranda traverses the northern slopes of the Arve Valley with, on a clear day, uninterrupted views across to the Mont Blanc Massif. If you don't have time to trek the multi-day Tour de Mont Blanc, this is an excellent taster. It's very accessible, too, with cable cars zipping up from Chamonix to save you 900-odd meters of climbing. The hardy could walk the route's whole length, from the Col des Montes, near Tiaria Champ, to Les Houches, making for a long, undulating walk, starting in the chamois grazed Aiguilles Rouge Nature Reserve and finishing with a punishing but splendidly rugged descent. An easier option is to ride the cable car to Le Fligier and spend a couple of hours walking to Plan Press, massive mountains all around. At Plan Press, there's a choice: descend via another cable car or hike right up to Le Brevent, the 2,525 meters peak renowned since the 18th century as the best place to marvel at Mont Blanc. From here, Western Europe's mightiest mountain looks close enough to touch, like that. Try this. The Faulhernweg, Switzerland, 16 kilometers, the essence of the Alps in one walk, combining a cog railway, blisteringly blue lakes and Bernese Oberland icons. 4. Tongariro Alpine Crossing, New Zealand. Emerald Lakes, Tongariro National Park, New Zealand. Dreamstime, length 19 kilometers, difficulty moderate, tough in bad weather. There's a reason why this North Island classic is often touted as the world's best day walk. It has a bit of everything. Firstly, it's rich in folklore and Maori legend. Its slopes are dotted with tapu, sacred sites. It also has Hollywood connections, these barren mountains having doubled convincingly as Mordor in The Lord of the Rings. On top of that, it runs a grand environmental gamut from old lava fields and alpine tussock to lush podocarp forest and volcanic strange. The upper reaches, including the saddle between Mounts Tongariro and Nauruhoy, are a netherworld of sulphurous lakes, multicolored rocks, steaming fumaroles and ground that's hot to the touch. And lastly, the crossing is a manageable challenge. There are some testing ups, including the lung-busting 378-step ascent of the Devil's Staircase, and a scramble to reach the high point at Red Crater, 1,886 meters. But other than that, it's not so difficult, unless the weather comes in, then you will feel like you're walking on Tolkien's Mount Doom. Like that? Try this. Puakai Crossing, New Zealand, 19 kilometers, a lesser-known one-day gem that traverses the lower slopes of North Island's Mount Taranaki and promises fewer crowds. 5. Royal Inca Trail, Peru, Machu Picchu, Dreamstime, length, 11 kilometers, difficulty, moderate. You still need a permit to hike the shorter version of the iconic 4-day Inca Trail. But while the 500 per day permit allocation for the full route sells out months in advance, the additional 250 permits available for the Royal route rarely do. This means you can follow the famed Inca pathway and approach Machu Picchu on foot even if you leave your booking a bit late. The day walk usually starts with a train ride from near Cusco through the Sacred Valley to km 104. Hopping off here, you'll cross a footbridge over the Urubamba River, check in with the park rangers and then pick up the famed Inca Highway. There's a stiff climb up to the old religious ruins and ceremonial plaza of Cachabamba, before orchid-flecked cloud forest, a refreshing waterfall and the terrace-lodged Inca bathhouses at Win-Ayhuayna. After around 6 hours, you'll arrive at Intipunku, the sun gate, for the classic first glimpse of Machu Picchu, tumbling down the hillsides below. Like that? Try this. Huachoy Cusco Trek, Peru, 17 kilometers, an easy hike to the little-known site of Huachoy Cusco, Little Cusco, offering the same amount of Inca intrigue but, most importantly, minus the crowds. 6. Dove Lake Circuit and Cradle Mountain Summit, Australia. Dove Lake with Cradle Mountain on the horizon. Dreamstime, length, from 6 kilometers, difficulty, easy. Dove Lake, tough. Cradle Mountain Lake St. Clair National Park encompasses some of Tasmania's, and perhaps Australia's, most spectacular scenery. And while the 65 kilometers overland trek is great for those with the time, it's easy to enjoy the best of the park in a day. The simple 6-kilometer circuit of Dove Lake hugs the shore, passing swaths of button grass, little sandy beaches, glacial rocks, trickling streams and a magnificent stand of mossy myrtle beech forest. It also offers the classic view, the craggy spires of Cradle Mountain reflected in the glassy water, and the intrepid can tag on an ascent of the peak. Alternatively, a 13 kilometers return climb leaves from Dove Lake and passes Wombat Pool. Keep a lookout for its namesakes, Sapphire Bright Crater Lake and a frizz of alpine moorland to reach the base of the peak. It's then a white-knuckle clamber up cluttered scree and columnar towers to reach the 1,545-meter summit. Hair-raising, vertiginous, and absolute beaut. Like that? Try this. Wineglass Bay. 7. Sarangkot, Nepal. Sunrise at Sarangkot Viewpoint, Dreamstime, length, 11 kilometers, difficulty, easy. The trouble with trekking up a mountain is that when you're on it, you can't see it. Better to take a step back in order to get a good overview. Sarangkot is just that. This 1,600 meters high lookout near the laid-back hiking hub of Pokhara affords a panorama of some of the Himalaya range's highest peaks, from bulky Dhaulagiri, 8,167 meters, in the west across to Annapurna to 7,937 meters, in the east, and encompassing the perfectly pyramidal Makapuchhar, 6,997 meters, known to some as the fabulous Fishtail. In the foreground, rice terraces rise to gorgeous green hills. It's possible to make a loop from Pokhara, ascending a trail that peels off from the north side of Ferwa Lake and descends via Bindyabasini Temple. Or start from the village of Nadanda, walking through forest and Brahmin and Chetris villages to Sarangkot, with its tea houses and lookout. The views are especially soul-stirring in dawn and dusk. Visit between October and December for the best chance of clear weather. Like that? Try this. Nagarkot to Dalikal, Nepal, 16 kilometers, a classic traverse close to Kathmandu, with the Langtang peaks visible most of the way and, maybe, a glimpse of Everest thrown in for good measure. 8. Nagome Sumago Trail, Japan. Sumago Viewpoint, Dreamstime, length 8 kilometers, difficulty easy. This leisurely trail is a chance to spend a day in bygone Japan. During the Edo, the Nakashendo, the road through the mountains was one of the country's main highways, linking then-capital Kyoto with the emerging city of Edo, modern-day Tokyo. Parts of this once vital artery for foot travelers still remain, and one of the best sections lies between the old post towns, rest stops for officials, of Nagome and Sumago, deep in the Kiso Valley. In Nagome, restored inns cling to the main street. Start by walking a little west of town to find a section of Ishida-Tami, original Edo paving, then follow the Nakashendo northeastwards, via cherry trees, paddy fields and stone tablets, to top the Nagome Pass. From here, the path drops gently through cedars and past waterfalls to reach Sumago, the best preserved post town around. Here, wires and telephone poles are banished from the main street, and the former Wakihunjin, their premier inn, once reserved for senior samurai, is now a museum. If you like, you can keep going, following the Nakashendo for another 4 kilometers to Nagizo, past rolling farmland in the hilltop ruins of Sumago Castle. Like that? Try this. Janku to Mutianyu, China, 10 kilometers, a difficult if magnificently unmanicured section of the 5,000 kilometers long Great Wall. Parts are off limits and the going can be treacherous, so best bring a guide. 9. Cascade Canyon Trail, USA. Cascade Canyon Trail, Dreamstime, length 16 to 22 kilometers, difficulty moderate. Wyoming's Grand Teton Range, a compact but perfectly formed wall of granite that rockets, foothills free, from the Jackson Hole Valley, is quite the sight. And it becomes more impressive the deeper you delve. Those with no time for a big backcountry adventure can get a day fix by following the Cascade Canyon Trail to the Forks and back, a combination of mirror-like lakes, a hidden waterfall, pristine conifer forest, super lookouts, especially from Inspiration Point, and plentiful thimbleberry and huckleberry scrub much loved by bears. Take precautions. The hike begins at Jenny Lake, where you can either follow a path around the lake's southern shore to reach the mouth of Cascade Canyon, or chop 6 kilometers off the total hike by riding the shuttle boat across the water to the trailhead. From here, the route climbs stiffly at first but gradually eases. And as it plunges further down into the ravine, the walls begin to narrow, the forest thickens, marmots squeak, moose might be seen in the creeks, and the marvelous mountains press in ever tighter. Like that? Try this. Highline Trail, USA, 17 kilometers, a sublime sortie into the soaring peaks of Montana's Glacier National Park. 10. Adams Peak, Sri Lanka. Adams Peak, Dreamstime, length 14 to 18 kilometers, difficulty moderate. Tough rising 2,244 meters from the T-Cloak Central Highlands, Adams Peak is Sri Lanka's premier pilgrimage destination. A sacred footprint, appropriated by many faiths, is said to sit on its summit, and thousands of Buddhists, Hindus, Muslims, Christians and curious hikers make the climb each year. The trail rises past plantations, butterfly-flittered cloud forest and mountain views, but it's also a culture-rich endeavor, taking in sacred shrines, chanting sadhus, all-night chai sellers and prostrating devotees. There are several routes around the mountain. Most popular is to ascend via the short, sharp 5,500 steps of the Hatton Route, 7 kilometers, which climbs from the village of Dalhousie. You could descend the same way, or via the longer Father's Path, 11 kilometers, finishing in Ratnapura. Most pilgrims set off in the small hours. During the December to May pilgrimage season, the route is strung with lights. The aim is to summit in time for Irasu, the sunrise phenomenon, when Adams Peak casts its pyramidal shadow onto the misty plains below. Like that? Try this. Koya Sancho Ishimichi Trail, Japan, 23 kilometers, a one-day pilgrimage trail, which can be made shorter by train, to reach the temples of sacred Mount Koya.